All right. Thanks for listening while we take that short break here at revolutionradiofreedomslips.com. And yeah, we're going to get back to your host.
Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is delightful. And since we've no place to go,
it'd be good if our producer turned the music off.
man, it doesn't show signs of stopping. And I brought this home. The light.
It was the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled snug in their beds while visions of sugar plants danced in their heads. And away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Merry Christmas to all, and welcome to Platos Cave." From Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. Home to ideas and today, Christmas cheer. Station could use some gifts. Some jingly-jangly folding gifts in a stocking because we have no support from anywhere else but the listener. Any kind of currency is good. So if you can give, please do. If you can't, that's okay because times are tough. Maybe you can tell someone about the station. That would be helpful. Today, as you might have guessed, is the 24th of December 2024. And you can catch the cave on the air, on the line, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a raised table of digital radio with a nice hot cocoa and maybe a marshmallow or 5. But you know what? The archives are free. So why not come and check those out? Another good reason to donate some money or tell people about the station. Before we start broadcasting at you with Christmas cheer, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
it is the Dark and Chung.
For myself, of course, the direct people. If we'd like to pay respect to elders past, present, and future, we would also like to wish you a happy Hanukkah, also a happy northern winter solstice, which is really what we are celebrating. And the Romans, of course, had their own celebrations at this time as well. This holiday goes back thousands and thousands of years and has its origin in the northern winter solstice, the time at which the sun reaches its lowest point near the horizon, stays there for 3 days, and begins its ascent yet again into the sky after the 3-day rest period. The Northern Hemisphere winter solstice. We have a summer solstice as well, which is slightly earlier, interestingly enough. I think it was yesterday. But it's the winter solstice that everybody celebrates. And we have all celebrated, I think every culture has, because it's such a unique astronomical event where the sun seems to stay still in the sky for 3 days. And then rises again. You can attach a lot of symbolism to that. And of course, you can also argue that the Christians then took that and ran with it as far as Easter was concerned. But on this wonderful day, Dave, how are you doing?
Yeah. Look, for me, it's a good day of reflection. That's what I'll say it is. I think there's some strength in believing that. And look, I'm sure, like, we all have pagan roots. Everybody. Well, almost everybody. And yes, it's a pivotal time. Perihelion. What's the other one? Forget it. It's the other Helion. Anyway, so whether or not... what's it called? Whether or not you're celebrating the summer or the winter solstice, the longest or the shortest day, transference into the other realm, it's significant. And we used to use that for the sowing of seeds or the harvesting of crops, the collection of materials as you head into winter. We used it for everything. That's what we used it for. Affiliate. Okay, I forgot. So, yes, it's important. And good morning to everyone on the eastern coast of the US. Good morning to you. 7 a.m. Rise and shine. Rise and shine. I went shopping today, Mickey. Not
Very
for
good.
Christmas goods, because tomorrow is a public holiday here in Australia. Very, very few shops are open. Though you can get kebabs and sweets from stores that aren't run by Australian Christians, let's put it that way. And good on you. When I lived in Surrey Hills, I loved the fact that all the shops were closed except for the kebab shop. That was just awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
So, look, putting it that way, it is like I said, a time of reflection, but it's also a time of unity and family. You can remember those who passed. You can use it for so many different things, but I'm using it this time like a Thanksgiving, but we don't celebrate Thanksgiving. It's just a matter of time, I suppose, Maggie. But we don't have Thanksgiving here. But I'm using it also to be thankful for what I have. And that's important. And the gifts, this is the least amount of gifts in monetary value in my life. Except when I was a kid, because one Christmas I got a hammer. That's what I got. That's all I got. And I was a kid. So as long as every problem was a nail, that was the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I did appreciate it. And I still remember it to this day. It doesn't matter what letter and what I said to Santa in the department store, Santa Claus, I got a hammer. We didn't have very much money at all, and I appreciate now more than ever what that means. And the gift is all about, it's about giving.
But with that hammer, Dave soon had a car and watches and jewelry. What a useful tool this hammer is. What? Who said that? It's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle.
It's a Christmas miracle. I love that saying. It's a Christmas miracle. I use that all year round. So being humble and giving when you have little, or giving when you have none, is extremely important. It should fill your heart with joy and be enough. And I think that's, if I in my whole life, if I've ever been as humbled to now, I'm a monkey's uncle. I've reached the amount of humble that I'm sure that Ebenezer Scrooge realized. And I recently watched the Bill Murray version of that. Very funny, and I think they did a good job with that.
They did.
The sentiment was there at the end, and I just loved it.
Completely.
So, good old Bill Murray. So yes, Maggie, that's me. That's me, and with all my spare time, I watch the news almost around the clock.
That's nice. Don't get caught up in the narrative. Find your own narrative. Obviously, you know this. It's because you can get really depressed if you follow that narrative.
So how was your day, Mickey?
Oh look, I had to do a few more. I'm doing preparations for tomorrow. Tomorrow the family comes over for the Christmas early dinner, I guess. So I'll be cooking for the rest of the day tomorrow, and today I prepared a few things. Caught up with my brother. Bought 2 last-minute gifts. In fact, so last minute, the shop, because I thought, it's Christmas Eve, so shops are open late.
No.
Oh, little did he know.
Rookie.
Rookie. Yeah, so I get to the shop at literally it was 10 minutes to 5. No kidding. I go, okay, yeah, I'll do, so yeah, no, we're closing in 7 minutes. I go, what? What? And it would explain why the Sydney City was quite quiet.
Well, dare accepted. Right, the challenge accepted button was pressed.
So we did, and they did, and they wrapped it up. And my shout out goes to the people at Tommy Bahamas.
The kindly folks at the store.
The kindly folks who let me do my shopping at the most unreasonable hour, surely. But no, yeah. So look, not a bad day. I tell you one thing though, which is odd. I feel really tired. I mean, like more than that's what's normal, but more than normal tired. I want to say, right?
There was an M9 flare in the last 24 hours.
Well, that would explain it.
Yeah. Those X-rays, man, they really knock you about.
Yeah, and then I fell asleep a couple of times on the way home, which was okay. You know, you have to micro sleep. But I think the people driving behind me weren't too impressed. So
oh, jeez.
That's no, I'm not even joking. But yeah, so it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, it's a funny old thing. No, look, no complaints. Tomorrow's going to be tiring, as you can imagine. As you well know, it's that kind of year. It's been a hard year in many ways, and for many people. And I just hope that 2025 is going to be a bit better for a lot more people. Amazing thing that happened today, though, is we're flying really close to the sun. I find that it's an amazing feat. I don't know if you've seen this, but we're looking to find out why the sun, the surface of the sun is so much hotter, hundreds of times hotter, in fact, than the sun itself. Like it's just inside the sun, just on the surface, but above the surface slightly, it's a lot hotter. It doesn't make any sense at all. So we're trying to figure out why that might be. Also, interestingly enough, Joe Biden, the outgoing U.S. president, commuted the sentences of 37 of 40 federal death row inmates. They're 40, but he commuted the sentence of 37, so all but 3 are no longer on death row. That's the single biggest commute or sentence commute of any administration in as far as death row inmates are concerned. So that's really interesting.
Well, did you know that he also commuted? There was a person convicted of America's greatest, and I don't mean great as in it was a good job that they did. I mean the value of the embezzlement was the most in American history. And this person was going to serve, I don't know how many consecutive life sentences or something crazy, is commuted their sentence, and so now they're free.
Oh well.
Look,
if he knows where the treasure's buried.
I want in on some of that loot. Right. No, so I'm kind of in two minds about it. About how good there really is. How many people who have done, I suppose, the wrong thing and are serving a jail sentence that you just get that fast forward to be freed. You still have the conviction. It's not a pardon, just for those who don't know. But it does set them free.
Correct. Well,
how many? What?
1,200?
Well, there was 1,500.
1,500. Yeah, it was the biggest number ever. Full stop.
That's correct.
So look, I think what he wants, and I'm just speculating here, because he's a one-term president, right? He's not going to have a second term ever, and it's it must weigh on his mind. What's my legacy? But I mean, ultimately, when you get to the position like that, and you start, mixing it up with the power people out there in the world, and you now have a place in history that will be remembered. Mm-hmm. What is your legacy?
What's your party legacy? Yeah.
And for him, clearly, it must be one of maybe he wants to be known as Joe Biden the Merciful. And I'm not being facetious at all.
Mm-hmm,
I mean,
those names in the past have been dished out to leaders. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe that's his game here, right? Because he won't get another chance at it, which is funny. Not ha-ha funny. Mm-hmm. Not ha-ha funny. Because so Biden commuted the sentences of 37 of the 40 federal death row inmates to life sentences. That's what is commuted, right? Yeah. Life sentence. So you can live, but the inquiry just won't be able to, that is no longer, because it takes years and sometimes decades for the death sentence to be carried out anyway, right? In the States, not like in Indonesia or other countries or Russia for that matter. It's
Are
not
you
even
busy tomorrow?
Where you just fall out of the window. No, but at the same time, I know, right? Now this doesn't apply. The doesn't apply to non-federal death row inmates, of which there are 2,200.
Mm-hmm.
However, Trump, quite the opposite, wants to extend their sentence to other crimes, like which are not quite yet covered by death sentence. So whatever crime, he's got a whole list of crimes that he wants the death sentence for. So he wants to extend the death sentence. I guess certainly in a federal context, which is interesting. He's like opposite of what Biden is doing. So we'll see how that plays out. Interesting. I need to say one thing as well, which people seem to have gotten wrong, and they don't understand fully. And let me just clarify. There was an attack on a Christmas market in Magdeburg in Germany.
That's right. I saw it almost live. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was horrible. It killed 5 people, including a 9-year-old child, and it left more than 200 injured.
Yeah.
So you don't need a gun, is my first point.
That's right.
You don't even need a knife. You just need a license. In fact, you don't even need a driver's license. You just need a vehicle. Anyway, the guy was Saudi. He was a Saudi.
That's right.
I guess you'd call him a dissident. So he was a refugee, I guess, from Saudi Arabia, living in Germany. And this is the funny thing. So in Germany, the Alternative für Deutschland, which is the far right-wing political party, Alternative for Germany, it's called, is using that attack to fuel xenophobia. And fair enough. It's an Arab guy who committed this, right? So you go, okay, fair enough. Yeah. They're calling for the shutting down of the borders, eviction of or
That's
deportation
right.
In Trump style of etc. etc.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the kicker here, and that's sort of got lost in the noise. Now, while all of it is true, all of it, the motivation of Abdul Mohsen, that's his name.
Yeah,
that's the suspect. It's not because he's pro-Islamic or is an Islamist or is a supporter of ISIS or Islamic Jihad or anything like that.
I've run out of guesses.
It's the opposite. He is virulently opposed to anything, it seems, fundamentalist Islamic. And he did this apparently to protest the treatment the German authorities are giving the Saudi dissidents living in Germany. So he's famous, and he was, well, I guess famous. He's more famous now, but he was quite well known for his extreme right-wing posts, which were in complete support of the Alternative for Germany. So I think it's not funny, but I can't help myself.
What about just a little nudge here and there?
Nudge them all the way. It's just insane. So of course, Alternative for Germany would take the ball, run with it, and call for the expulsion of all foreigners. But this foreigner is completely aligned with them, like 100,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, the funny bit. That sort of got lost. So yes, it is classified as. I think that they classified it as a terror attack, but not an Islamist. Or this is actually what I guess you would have to classify as a right-wing nationalist terror attack, which confuses the whole thing. See, this is what I mean. None of this, nothing makes sense anymore, Dave. This world has gone home. Like what? Squeeze me? The baking powder? What's going on here? Like,
Well, I have similar crazy. But do you remember back here on Sunday night I mentioned that the Russian gas transit deal was going to end in December 31st? For the Platos cavers out there who maybe didn't catch the other show. Right, okay, that's Ukraine says I'm not going to renew it because it goes across their land, and yes, they make a little bit of money on it, but whatever it is, and that's it. Well, I've got to show the middle screen here. So that's the story, and then what's his name? Robert Fico, the Slovak Prime Minister, has met with Putin, and he's the NATO nation PM, and he's going, I don't like that they're not going to renew it. As long as I'm the head of NATO, Ukraine's not going to be a member of NATO for doing this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this on its own, though. There's a huge history here. And now NATO's threatening Ukraine to keep that pipeline going. So you've got a threat to continue the pipeline going, but you're not going to be a member of NATO. You tell me that's a double threat, and so where's the incentive? I don't understand.
It's called realpolitik. So this is funny, and again, not in a ha-ha funny way. So while the war is going on, or has been going on, we're talking 3 years now, which is complete insanity, but nonetheless, there we are. Throughout all of that time, Russia was selling all kinds of things to Europe, including gas. Okay? And guess what? Europeans need it. It's no choice. It's dead or freeze to death. You choose, whatever you like. So there are certain realities when it comes to these situations. Can you defeat Russia in short order? The answer is no. Can you cripple it with sanctions and this and that? And remember, these sanctions are not personal sanctions. These are no longer sanctions on Russia per se. These are sanctions on individuals, having their assets frozen and et cetera, et cetera. Can't travel here, can't travel there, whatever. At the same time, you are giving the Russians money to continue their war.
That's right.
That's just how it is. So to your point, yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. But they're competing. They're competing priorities. Do we need to contain Putin? So I'm talking like as a European now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm European. So except Hungary, he's quite chummy with Mr. Putin. We got to contain Putin. How do we contain Putin? All right, we got to support the Ukraine. Okay, we're going to support the Ukraine. We also have to put sanctions on this, that, and the other. Okay, we're going to do that. We need Russian gas and oil. What do we do there? Well, we buy it.
So we need something that they supply. We can't live
That's
without
right.
it.
And the Russians can't afford not to sell it to the Europeans either, right? Because the Russians could turn around and say, "Oh, you're not getting any gas and oil, unless you stop supporting the Ukraine." See, none of this work. Do you know why Fanta was invented?
Yeah, sanctions.
The American Coca-Cola company could no longer sell Coca-Cola in Germany after the outbreak of facilities. Couldn't do it. Can't do it. Okay, well, it doesn't work for the Coca-Cola company. I got to make money, right? That's what I got to do. So what do? They invent Fanta. the orange lemonade that was then exclusively sold in Germany by the subsidiaries. Quite well
not
hidden.
directly. It was indirectly, yeah.
Yeah,
And so it forever became Nazi cola. It's not cola, but it was the replacement.
Nazi cola. Yes, that's right. That's funny. But yes, so it is. Look, these are realities. These are real. You think big money and big business don't matter? You don't think they pull the strings? Really?
Totally.
That's what you're thinking. Let me just disabuse you of your illusions here. Absolutely, they matter. And in fact, I want to go as far as saying it's pretty much the only thing that matters. Because these politicians, they want to have a life after politics, and they want to have a life during politics. I mean, look at Benjamin Netanyahu, who enjoyed the high life and the expensive cigars and the whatnots, right? And now they might get him for it. Well, that's what happens if they get you for that. Which brings me to another thing. They keep bombing Gaza, killing more people in Gaza.
Yeah.
And after this entire place is rubble. I mean,
they can corner the rubble market.
But how how ineffective is the Israeli army if they haven't wrapped up operations by now? I mean, really, how ineffective? This is ridiculous. Of course,
it's kind of Russia-esque.
Russia-esque. Of course, the real answer is, and I know people are going to hate this, but and again, you must not confuse anti-Semitism with criticism of Israel. They're not the same. They are not the same. So me criticizing Israel and specifically the policies of Benjamin Netanyahu's government doesn't make me an anti-Semite. Hard to do because, like I said, my great-grandparents were Ukrainian Jews. Double whammy. Who ran away from the Russian pogroms to Germany because that was a good idea back then. It really was. We're talking like the late 19th century here.
It was the style at the time.
That's what happened. But you got to understand that this is legitimate criticism, and you can't call. I mean, of course they call it anti-Semitism because it's such a loaded word, right? Such a powerful argument. It is. It still is. But it's complete nonsense. It is not anti-Semitism because we've gone through this. The population of Israel is not entirely homogeneous Jewish.
That's right.
It's not. It's Israeli, which has Christians and Druze and Muslims, a whole bunch of other folk in there. Right? And they're all part of the Israeli army, believe it or not. It's a fact. It's a thing. So the policies that Netanyahu and his cabinet are, I guess, following are a depopulation of Gaza, or as much as they can, at least.
It appears that way.
And then take control of Gaza completely. No place for a Palestinian Authority. No place for a two-state solution. They don't want it at all. Don't stop. Don't want it. Can't have it. We'll never have it. Don't want it.
They've rejected those ideas.
100%. They have rejected. And in fact, that's the platform they're running on. Look, again, I understand why they're doing it. I do. I get it. I mean, it's from their point of view, it makes perfect sense. It doesn't make any sense for the Palestinians and maybe for the rest of the global community, but for them, it makes sense. It's the ultimate security. If there's no one left to fear, then you're okay.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
That's
not great.
That's the same idea of expanding your borders.
Yeah. And not great for neighborly relations. And it's the funny thing. It's like Netanyahu bombing Syria, saying, "I want to be your buddy." It's like punching a kid in the face, taking his lunch money, and saying, "Oh, come over and watch some videos at my house later." Yeah, sure.
Do you know? I've got to interrupt right now because America and Israel have now been bombing Houthi rebels in Yemen.
Makes sense.
Well, you've. This is why I said that the Palestinian people should corner the market of rubble because the other countries are coming up with rubble. And if rubble becomes the thing that you want, it's going to be a commodity you want to trade. they won't have the market. So get in quick.
Yeah, I know, right?
You know,
And
Ukraine, there's not much to make rubble in Ukraine. It's huge, but there's not these, massive high rises, that is just concrete and reinforcing steel.
You're right.
It's not the same.
The Ukraine is a country.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain what I mean by that. It's a fairly large country, and it's spread out, and it's got population centers where Gaza is all population center.
That's right.
Like it is literally, it's like
New York City.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, think of Manhattan, New York, and it's just completely built up.
Mm-hmm.
Completely. Well, sorry, not anymore. Not anymore. It was built up, but not so much anymore.
That's true.
And then, of course, Dave is right. It's a different kind of thing. It's a different kind of rubble, a different kind of environment, and it's harder to cause as much destruction in the Ukraine as in Gaza, because it's more spread out. It's harder to get to. So, it's understandable why the Russian army is taking as long as it does. I'm not making excuses. It's just, it's just what it is. So we are now faced with a situation where it is obvious to anyone, I think, what Netanyahu wants to do. And it's the same thing that Putin wants. He wants that territory. He wants to control that territory. He wants this territory to be his. Now, will it be? I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I'm glad I'm not in any of those territories. That's
the truth.
And especially on a day like today, Christmas Eve 2024. It's a time to reflect, as Dave has said. It's a time to, and that's why I started the show with a little Christmas song, and that's Dean Martin, by the way, and also the A Night Before Christmas. It's called A Visit from St. Nicholas by Clement Clark Moore. I'm sure we've all heard it. It's a famous. And I want to give you a few lines from it, but it was the night before Christmas when all through the house, with a creature was stirring, and a mouse. It's so iconic. It really is, right?
Yeah.
The children were nestled all stuck in their beds while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. It's very evocative. It's a powerful little poem. It makes me feel good when I read it. But by the same token, Christmas is probably the best time to take as an example of what Plato's Cave is all about, to pull back the curtain, to make everybody understand what's what. We talked at the beginning of how this is really a pagan festival. And it is. The Christians appropriated it, just like they appropriated Easter. It makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Of course you would, right? When you're going somewhere,
I liked Esther. I like my Esther chicken.
Yeah, right. It's the was it the goat, not the Easter goat?
Easter chicken.
I know there was the chicken, but it was another animal which was completely incongruous.
Oh,
I can't. Doesn't matter. But yeah, the Easter chicken is brilliant. No, but if you're going into this, remember this started in the Middle East. All right, so Jesus spent pretty much, what we know of him, he spent in the Middle East. There's people that say he went all the way down into Kashmir and further even, but that's neither here nor there. And then Paul was, as he was known, well, he was actually known as Saul. And then on the road to Damascus, he was one of the people that were sort of hunting Jesus' followers. He was, struck on the road to Damascus by an insight, lightning, people say, God's finger or whatever, where he realized the error of his ways, and from then on became the driving force of Christianity. Let us Paul to all kinds of Greek cities. That's that Paul. Without that Paul, there would be no Christianity. Without that Paul, so Paul, more than anyone else, more than the apostles and Peter and anyone other, it was Paul, who was not an apostle, who drove Christianity's mission more than anyone else. Okay, without him, there would be no Christianity today. That's how it is. But yeah, it's interesting. He had a change of heart, I guess. Maybe he knocked his head. Who the hell knows? I don't know. But then, you know, you have to understand these people then went from the fairly civilized part of the world, because the Middle East, the Roman Empire, the Greek islands and so forth, you know, they were all fairly civilized and high standards of civilization, living, etc., etc. And they were going into the pagan European territories, Germania and the Gaulish territories and you know, the Celtic territories, etc., which were quite brutal. And in fact, you know, even so strong that the Romans couldn't advance past certain points, but they went there anyway, and they go, oh yeah, we have that same kind of
That's right.
celebration.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It coincides
Really?
at the same time
Yeah.
too, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come, let me tell you all about it. And it was
Here we
a
go.
religion of the poor and downtrodden, right? Don't forget that it was slaves in Rome that converted first to Christianity, because they're being promised a great afterlife. It's like you're gonna be in paradise in the afterlife. You suffer now, but you know, you find Jesus, and you know, off you go, and you know, in the afterlife you're gonna be okay. I mean, if you're a slave and being a Roman slave, I don't know if you've read some of the histories, but being a Roman slave, that was just the pits.
Yeah,
it really
that
was.
sucked. Mm-hmm.
And before you knew it, you know, there was a huge undercurrent, because guess what? There are a lot of slaves in Rome, and also a lot of poor people, and it became the religion of the people, and the emperors weren't stupid. They could see a way to consolidate their power, and if you look at the Catholic religion specifically, right, and there's the saints and all that, and all the gold and the opulence, that's the Roman Empire. That's straight the entire pantheon that the Romans used to have. All the gods are now saints, which is funny because you're not actually allowed to pray to anyone but God. It's very clear in the Bible. Yeah, people pray to all the same. Anyway, so this is what Plato's Cave is about. It's to tell you to look deeper and not just accept what you hear. There's a reason for everything. There's a story behind everything. And yes, sometimes the story is a lie, but it's up to you. It really is to see if you can find more. And maybe you're not interested. Maybe you're not interested. And that's okay too, but then you can't make any complaints. You have to be quiet. Like I'm going to be now, and let Dave talk.
And that's why we work together so well. So, yeah, Smecky, I'm going to agree with you. You're totally right. The thing that annoys, I suppose it annoys me more than anything, is how we don't see today the creation of the same echelon in society. It's only been, let's call it 40 years, but it has been made much longer than that. But in that amount of time, we've seen the departure of similar wages between, you know, the frontline worker and the CEOs to realms that we could only dream of, to levels that are way beyond our greatest fantasy. And at the same time, I'm going to sound like the person I don't want to talk about. I don't want to be, but the big corporations don't care. I know why wages of CEOs should be so high. It's predominantly to attempt to prevent bribery. It's really what the whole thing is all about. It's not about a superiority of their prowess or expertise in the industry. They're just someone holding it together. If we made a raft, if we all made a raft as a community, hopefully there's one person desperately trying to keep it together for all of us. And that's what I always imagined the CEO of a company. If it's been born by you, and you've reached, you know, a threshold, you've got a certain, you know, hundreds of employees, you just want it to keep going. You want it to be the tank that can withstand anything. You just keep rolling, and as it does, it's going over little power-ups and getting bigger, and you're making something of it. It doesn't mean that it's going to work forever, but by saying what I've just said, there is now a tremendous disparity between the frontline worker, the output of the company, who they're employing, and what sovereignty they've decided to adhere to, within which country's bounds are they doing it. And now these are all my complaints. They're only mine, the way I think that it all works, and they're parts, I think, of the things that have made what the people at the top decide what is good, but inevitably only for short-term gain.
Yeah, 100%.
Like a mom and pop. I have to use American audience. A mom and pop store where they've inherited the store from their parents, or, you know, generationally. They don't owe anything to the building itself, although maintenance is key. They've always employed their family. They run this business forever, and their dream is to continue running the business.
Yep.
There isn't scope there that's going to mean unlimited wealth in an infinite world of possibilities. No. Just keep it rolling, make sure we pay all the bills, learn what we have to learn, and as things change, we kind of change with it. Kind of. But if you wait long enough, you become retro enough to be a new way of thinking again. It's the old way of thinking. But apparently the people who have gone through the morphing into this crazy place we've been now will look upon that as something like it's a little retro, but maybe it's nichey or something like that. Hopefully you can keep going. You'll survive. Because there's always people that want it. Now, saying all of that, watching our politicians do the same things that Rome was known for, it astonishes me, and I'm disappointed in them for making decisions based on, it didn't test well. I just love Don't Look Up. It's fantastic.
It is.
Right?
It is.
You use a little group, watch them through one-way mirrors, and decide where you're going to go. I thought you had policies. I thought this was a good thing. What are you doing now? Oh, we have to please the people. We're falling in the polls. Screw the polls. Do the things you promised, and next time, let's just say, don't make such big claims. Oh, but it's the only way to win all the people. But okay, so if you're going to lie, how about we put some new rules in place? Right? So the people, not we the people, that's America, right? The people in whatever country, I think this has gone away from us now. I don't think we have any power in this whatsoever. But if I was looking at an ideal world, the direct democracy is the only way forward. Eliminate most political parties, most of them, or if not all of them, and just have a council, and we all vote on what they think is the right thing to do, and one person every year drops out of the group and a new person comes in.
And we have to tech. We have to tech to
we
do
have
it.
it.
That's the kicker.
Yeah.
We can. What? Yes.
We could all vote completely successfully from home, without having to go somewhere to do it. We could all do that, and it could simply be a link. And even though I despise myself for saying this, a national identity like I don't know, what's that number in America? Not the healthcare number, the other one. Social Security number. That's just the number that identifies you. That would be ideal for use in America. Don't make it anonymous, but because that means someone can vote more than once, and there's no proof that you voted more than once. See, that's not a democracy. I think direct democracy would be fantastic. You'd have an app, and you know, every week there's a bunch of things that you can either say I don't have a voice on, or I choose to say yes or no to. And this is going to direct the country. I think it's the only way forward, Mickey.
Look, I agree. Now there have to be checks and balances, and we have to be assured that. And maybe it's what's the chain?
Blockchain.
In this case, blockchain, exactly. And maybe use blockchain to secure the data, right? And that would be brilliant, in my opinion, if we could do that. and yes, absolutely, it's the only way to guarantee, to ensure that at least some of the things we vote for are on the level, and it would do away with party politics. It would do away with lobbying.
That's right.
How are you going to lobby?
They're good. That's good things.
Everybody, right? Yeah, you can't lobby everybody. You can't. It's not possible. Full stop. Oh, okay. So a whole bunch of fat cat parasites out of a job. Brilliant.
Good. Yeah.
It's got my vote. So you're absolutely correct, Dave. It would be ideal. We have the technology, but we probably don't have the trust. And the thing is this, right? The reason in Australia we're talking about having solar panels uninstalled from the roofs of houses, because we've got about 4 million houses with solar panels, is because the way they add
power to the grid.
Solar houses add electricity, power to the grid, it breaks the system. It breaks the established power companies. They just can't work in that new environment.
Because
that's the reason.
The amount of money that the amount of electricity they need to produce to be profitable is no longer viable.
Correct.
They can't make the amount of power that's required in the system to actually run a profit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about money, and
it's only money.
Is the same. It's the same with our little, flighty, lofty ideas here of having, a direct vote for everybody. It would break the system as it's established. It just would, because all of a sudden, all the power structures as they exist, all the influence, lines and the direct connections, the boys' club, and it's a boys' club. You can stand on your head, and it's a boys' club. They would all go away.
I fail to see the disincentive.
No. Now, the kicker, and it really is a kicker, unfortunately, is that the people that would make the changes to the systems are the very same people that have every incentive not to make a change.
That's right.
To the system. So the question then becomes, all right, so what do we do? Well, that's the billion-dollar question, right? What do we do? The system has to be completely overhauled from the bottom up, and it has to be something else. It is no longer working. We're no longer in a place, and when I say it's no longer working, I do mean it, because look at how many people have fallen between the cracks.
Yeah. And that's only getting worse.
Yeah, this is no longer, it's the best outcome for most people. It really isn't anymore.
It's like standing on an iceberg, Mickey, that's floating towards the equator. There's less and less people on it that it suits.
Yeah. That's exactly right, Dave. And a lot of we don't see it, we don't see it because the corporate media shows us the world as they want us to see it.
Yeah.
They don't show you the millions of people starving to death every year. They don't show you that.
No.
They don't show you all the food that's being destroyed because you can't, if you give stuff away, it loses its market value. You can't give stuff away. You cannot give. Do you know why diamonds are so expensive, Dave? Because De Beers is paying the Russians a fortune.
Yeah.
Not to dig up all the Russian diamonds because guess
go.
what? You know what?
Mm-hmm.
Diamonds ain't that rare.
No, they're not. In fact, yeah.
They're like
didn't
coal,
they make a whole?
okay?
They believed they found a planet that was entirely made of diamond. That would tank the market.
But just a little, right? How many carats is that?
All of them.
All the carats.
All of them.
That's funny. But yeah.
So
that's where we are, man.
Yeah, I know, and I had something funny then too. Oh. Anyway, so I had a good rant. I got something off my chest, and later on today on Revolution Radio, there's going to be like a roundtable thing. It's going to be cool, and it starts at 8 p.m. Eastern American time, and I don't know how many. Oh, that's going to be 12 hours away from when our show finishes. That's pretty cool.
I think might be.
That's what the math works out to be.
I'll try to dial into that. But if not, Merry Christmas to all Revolution Radio regulars. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Do celebrate, because look, it doesn't matter if it was an old pagan festival. It doesn't matter if it was a Roman festival.
Or Festivus.
Festivus. The Saturnalia. It doesn't matter. Or Christmas, you celebrate. We did all the Christmas paraphernalia that we have, including the way Santa Claus looks, are fairly recent. Okay, Christmas trees, late 19th century Germany. The way Santa Claus looks, I think it's 1930s, 1940s Coca-Cola. I believe
that's right.
In Germany, the Christ child brings presents, or the Christmas man. Santa Claus or St. Nicholas is celebrated on December 6th, which is a historical figure. Mm-hmm. I think it was I can't remember where it was.
Santa Claus. Mm-hmm.
Santa Claus, yeah. So
what about the man from the moon that brings the presents in Japan?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are a whole bunch of traditions that are blended together, and today we look at Christmas and we think it's that thing. It's always been like that. Nothing could be further from the truth, trust me. All these traditions, I mean, if you think about it, there aren't too many turkeys in Europe, believe it or not.
Wow.
The Americans, got that. I mean, there are no chilies in Europe or in Asia. They had peppers. The chilies all come from South America, all chilies. There weren't any chilies anywhere else. So and spices came, of course, from the East. All the Christmas spices. The reason they were Christmas spices, or you associate them with Christmas, like in gingerbread and such, is because they're very, very, very expensive, and they were saved for very special occasions, such as Christmas, where go all out and use all the expensive, like cinnamon and dried ginger and cardamom and all wonderful things that we associate with Christmas smells and dishes.
Yes,
that's. I mean, just understand where we are and don't think it's always been like this, because it hasn't. It really hasn't. I think the music is going. It's still early, right, Dave?
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes left.
We've got 2 minutes left. Okay, we'll see. We'll see you out with White Christmas, another song we'll play in the background until the station's music starts. But look, this has been Platos Cave. We do hope that you did enjoy our conversation. We have to come up with another format somehow, Dave, and we discussed this. We will, and it'll be more poddy or more podcasty. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna figure it out. Maybe it has to wait until we all retire, but maybe not. But if we get lots of hits and we have this overnight sensation, like a viral thing where people discover us, that would be brilliant. I wouldn't say no to that, and there'll be a lot more Dave and Mackie on the airwaves everywhere.
So if you can like, comment, share, and subscribe, that'd be fantastic to help us out.
It would be, absolutely. So don't go anywhere. Something else is going to come up, I'm sure. It's going to be awesome. But while We're playing.
And there's the
session
music.
music.
Uno Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and
And we're gonna see out with this. And most of all, Dave.
Be safe.
But do you recall?